TV3 Ghana. My name is Safwa Bwahina. Coming up this morning. President John Mahama sets up 7-member National Economic Dialogue Planning Committee tasked to organize the forum to discuss Ghana's current economic challenges. Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools charts reviews. Some institutions are yet to receive food items being distributed by government. Appointments Committee of Parliament expected to continue vetting President John Mahama's ministerial nominees today. We have details and many more coming up shortly. Please stay with us, and many thanks for joining us this morning. Let's move to our first story now, where President John Dramani Mahama has set up a 7-member National Economic Dialogue NED Planning Committee, the initiative which is part of his 120-day social contract with Ghanaians aim to tackle Ghana's economic challenges and lay the foundation for sustainable development. This was contained in a statement signed by acting spokesperson to the President, Felix Kwasi. The committee is chaired by renowned economist Dr. Ishmael Yamson, has 4 weeks to submit its report. Other members include Dr. K.Y. Mwakon, Professor John Gachi, Mohammed Samara, Nelly Mreku, Anthony Sapon, and Ernest de Graft Ejui. The committee will organize a high-level dialogue to foster consultation and consensus on policies essential for transforming Ghana into a high-growth, inclusive, and resilient economy. Minister of State designates in charge of government communications, Felix Kwasi, has outlined the country's escalating debt servicing obligations, revealing the extent of the financial burden the government faces. Highlighting the previous government's role in the current crisis, he noted that the excessive borrowing without adequate plans to repay has put the country into perilous position.
We are just in the throes of Ghana's worst economic meltdown in decades. As I speak to you, on 2nd January, we paid $364 million in debt servicing. At the end of February, we are required to pay 6.1 billion Ghana cedis in debt servicing. After next year, we have to pay 180 billion in debt servicing. And this is for a country whose budget is slightly above 200 billion. So what it means is that all the taxes you and I pay, and everything else that we do in this country, that goes into our budget. All of it will be used to pay debt servicing because of the debt default and the deferment
period has ended.
So you can imagine what the finance minister must feel when he says down that dark barrel, where everything he mobilizes next year will be used to service debt. Because if we don't do it, we'll default again. If we default, it will be catastrophic. It will be the end of our economy as we know it.
That's 180 billion.
180 billion for debt servicing alone. Because the previous government, they were too happy to borrow and yet did not make plans to repay. So a new government comes into power. In the very first 2 months, we have to pay close to 10 billion Ghana cedis. Yes. And then next year, everything that we collect, if we are not careful, will be used to service the 180 billion. Or slightly above that, is what is needed to service debt alone.
Let's take you to Parliament now, where the Appointments Committee of Parliament will later today vet Minister-designate for Lands and Natural Resources Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa and 3 regional ministers-designate. The other nominees are to be vetted are Tia Ibrahim, Minister-designate for the North-East region, Dr. Frank Amwakohene, Minister-designate for the Ashanti region, Kamugri Atanga Donatus, Minister-designate for the Upper East region. The committee has over the last few days vetted and approved some ministers, with 11 so far being sworn into office by President Mahama. The Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, has revealed that some institutions are yet to receive food items being distributed by government. With arrears dating as far back as 2021, CHAS says the food shortages in senior high schools have been a dire constraint as they were left with no option than to feed students with unwholesome food. Christian Yali reports.
The implementation of the free senior high school policy has been hindered by financial constraints, with the government struggling to pay food suppliers on time. Food shortages in many schools have forced parents to provide their children with supplies. The Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, has attributed the arrears to inconsistent funding.
There are two broad issues, burden on food, burden of money. We are talking about some arrears. Arrears in respect of what we call the recurrent fee. Recurrent fee is what we all know as school fees in ordinary language. So we have some arrears in that respect, dating as late as 2021. Other component about the money is also the arrears in respect of what we call the perishables. These are monies that come for us to buy ingredients, take care of the kitchen, things like gas, firewood, cooking pots, everything that is related to cooking.
Following a directive by President Mahama upon assuming office, the government began distributing food items to schools nationwide. However, CHAS says not all schools have received the food supplies yet.
We have not received them yet. I don't know how far it has gone. As we talk now, some schools really do not have any, they virtually do not have any item in the stores. And in fact, in the next 2 days, if nothing hits the stores, they will close. Without missing words, it's a very dire issue. We will not run away from that.
What is the quality of food like?
It's generally not up to our expectation. Basically going for jollof rice, for example, and it's nothing but the rice itself, a bit of salt, and then water.
But why were you feeding the students that?
That is what we had.
Over the years, school heads have been criticized for failing to speak out about the challenges they face. CHAS admits that some heads were interdicted and others were summoned for speaking up.
If anybody says CHAS has been quiet, it's not true. It's just because of the structure of communication we have maybe in the Ghana Education Service. Unless you have been given clearance. There was a time we issued a communique at Cape Coast, I think that's somewhere in 2023, were summoned to the minister's house, office at that time. It's true that a lot of people were afraid to talk.
The government has outlined measures to address the situation.
It was necessary to provide immediate intervention in terms of food to our wards in the various secondary schools across the country. More definite plans are put in place to provide funding directly to the heads of the institutions for them to procure all that is needed to feed our wards.
Despite these challenges, CHAS has acknowledged that the performance of students has been impressive over the years. The past government on several occasions defended the free SHS policy, saying it is a vital investment in Ghana's future, also due to the increased access. But the question of quality on many fronts was not answered. Christian Yale, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's bring you some more stories. President John Mahama has inspected the newly built Ghana High Commission in Nairobi, Kenya, marking the first time since 1960 that a certain head of state has visited the facility. After being closed down in 1960, reconstruction began in 2008 and was only completed in April 2024. The head of Ghana's mission, in Kenya, Damte Bedia Kwansari, says President Mahama's visit to the Chancery is remarkable and will go down in history.
Thank you.
Oh, I think there's no higher honor for you to have your president visiting you in the first place. And for him to be the first president to have visited, I think we are beyond measure. We are grateful. We feel honored in that you should have your head of state to be the first person to have visited us. I think, as I said earlier, we moved into these facilities. This is the residence, as you could see there. We moved in May last year, and then we moved into to occupy the Chancery also in April. So a few political leaders have come here, but this is the first time that we're having sitting president visiting the mission. So I said, beyond measure, we are more than honored to have him visit us. We've had this property almost close to 4 acres. We've had it since the 60s. But we moved out. We closed down the mission in the early 80s and came back in 2008. By the time we returned to the mission, I think the facilities were essentially, literally not habitable. So we started, addressing the issue with the ministry, and the ministry graciously agreed to help us out. And I think they were able to mobilize the resources to be able to do this.
Speaker of Parliament Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagman has reaffirmed his commitment to ensuring the passage of the LGBTQI+ bill, emphasizing its importance to Ghana's cultural values. He was addressing the Ghanaian community in Côte d'Ivoire as part of his diplomatic mission to strengthen ties between the two countries.
In the case of the LGBT bill, it was passed by Parliament. The former president failed or refused to assent to it, which was unconstitutional. There is no law allowing a president to refuse or fail to assent to a bill passed by Parliament. Parliament is the authority on passing laws, not any other person, not president. So he was wrong. And all of you together punished him for that. I am going to write and send it to the new Attorney General and Minister for Justice for his comments for us to resend it to the new president for his assent. So it's not going to take long time. It will be passed this year. This year, we'll pass it. It is anti-God. I'm very, 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 look, that thing, nobody should joke with me when it comes to that area. I can lose my life because of that. It's better not to live than to live in that society where man to man, woman to woman, what is that?
Let's still remain on the speaker because he has told Ghanaians living in Côte d'Ivoire the Constitution Amendments Bill will allow Ghanaians abroad to hold the offices that their counterparts are in Ghana. And addressing a gathering of Ghanaians in Côte d'Ivoire during his recent visit, the Speaker of Parliament also assured that he will work to ensure the implementation of the Representation of the People's Amendment Law, ROPAL.
The amendment of the Representation of the People's Amendment Law, ROPAL, aims to ensure that Ghanaians living abroad can exercise their constitutional right to vote in Ghanaian elections. The about 3 million Ghanaian community in La Côte d'Ivoire who met the Speaker during his diplomatic visit to Abidjan earlier this week say they want to exercise their franchise and believe Speaker Alban Sumana Bagman is well positioned to make it happen.
Mr. Speaker, we appeal to the Parliament to facilitate the implementation of Representation of the People's Amendment Law, ROPA, to enable Ghanaians abroad to exercise their voting rights. This will give the Ghanaians in Côte d'Ivoire a voice in a national decision. It is crucial to collaborate with the Ivorian authorities to ensure the smooth exercise of the electoral process.
They are also urging government to support them to commemorate Ghana's Independence Days.
Now, building a strong ties with the community to foster unity and strengthen our community, we propose embassy organize and celebrate Ghanaians Independence Day every year to commemorate the significant and special event in Côte d'Ivoire. Over the years, we don't celebrate the independence in Côte d'Ivoire. So we are entreating the embassy and also the Parliament if they can do something about this for us.
Speaker of Parliament Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagman has meanwhile pledged his commitment towards the implementation of ROPAL.
So we had the Constitution Amendment Bill, which we will take up in this Parliament and we will pass it. And that will raise some of the discriminatory things you're talking about and make it possible for the ROPA to be properly implemented in phases because of cost implications and human resource constraints. You have to put a system in place to be able to manage it so that you can have good elections, not fraudulent elections.
He also pledged to celebrate Ghana's Independence Day with them.
I will take one of the years to come here and we celebrate Independence Day. Your officials in the embassy will be more than happy because I will bring resources so that they can celebrate. I say so because we go as far as United Kingdom to celebrate Independence Day. We celebrate it in the US. And just at home, Côte d'Ivoire, you cannot celebrate it? How?
Irama Smith, TV3 News, Abidjan.
Now let's bring you some emergent social issues in Ghana here, where the phenomenon of Kaya represents a pressing issue in urban areas, especially Accra, where head porting is predominant. Despite efforts to provide vocational training, many still endure severe living conditions, indicating that these initiatives fall short of acceptable standards. My very good self explore their struggles and the socio-economic factors driving this migration. In the vibrant markets of Accra and some urban areas in the country, the sight of head porters is all too familiar. These individuals, often young women and children, migrate from the northern parts of Ghana in search of work. And speaking to most of them, this decision is driven by economic hardship and limited opportunity. Some say it's just because of money, and so they come here to do the Kaya job to gather some funds, go back home and take care of their parents and their siblings at home. According to a 2019 report by the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, there are more than 100,000 Kaya, including their children nationwide. 85,600 of these work in the Greater Accra area, 22,500 in the Ashanti region, and about 1,000 in the Bunahafo region. Some of these, over 80,000 Kaya, ply their trade at one of the capital's popular markets, the Medina Market. A 25-year-old head porter has taken to this trade out of the need to survive. Alimatu and her colleagues endure unsanitary sleeping conditions and face various forms of abuse, but they remain resolute in the efforts to succeed. We don't earn much from our Kaya jobs, but we bring home what we can to support our families. I also met with Alima, who seemed to be in her early 30s, taking a rest with other obviously tired head porters. A mother who has left her husband and children in the northern part of Ghana says their physical condition is a testament of their struggles. Her major motive is to make money to go look after her husband and children. I came to earn money to care for my children and support my household. Mase's story isn't any different. I want to earn money to support my parents, so education isn't my priority right now. Children of these Kaya pay a hefty price of a situation they did not create. A situation that is of concern to the Executive Director of Child Rights International, Bright Apia.
Kaya can also be classified as a hazardous activity. For that matter, the provisions of this country do not allow children to participate in hazardous activity. At a certain age, the law do not allow that. We still want to ensure that decent work is done around that area by the adult. Then there's a need for us to also put mechanisms in place that their children will not be denied the right to education.
To address these challenges that have plagued the increase in number of Kaya, in May 2024, the then Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia inaugurated a Kaya training center aimed at providing vocational training in various trades for Kaya.
What we are doing for Kaya today is part of a whole program to empowering head porters and offering transitional job pathways and enhancing their socio-economic status.
However, months on, the training center is not operational. The NDC chairman for the Madina constituency, Alhaji Ibrahim Faila Fuseni, recounts events leading to the current state of the facility.
Less than a week after the declaration of the EC, a call came that some people came to the Kaya Center, in fact, ransacking the building, removing fridges, tailoring machines, a whole lot of different gadgets. We also sent in our guys and reported to the police.
The sad reality of the training center here in Madina and other parts of the country, as reported, is testament of failed attempts to alleviate the plight of Kayaye. The United Nations Population Fund UNFPA country representative to Ghana, Dr. Wilfred Ochan, shared perspectives on addressing the root causes of Kayaye migration.
They are the pull factors in the cities and urban areas where they come to. All of these underlie the reason for which we are seeing the growth in a number of young people coming to this space, estimated over 100,000. But we also know that when they've come into this space, there are risks and vulnerabilities they're exposed to. And therefore, a good strategy or a good approach, in my view, would be a national strategy that look at the push and the pull factors, but also address the risk and vulnerabilities of Kayaye when they're into this trade.
While training programs are a step in the right direction, experts recommend a more holistic approach, integrating vocational training with legal protections, access to education, and healthcare facilities.
We also know that perhaps part of the national strategy should also look at those factors driving them. And one of which, when you have conversation with these people, is that some want to go back to school. So how can we provide access? What protection system are you providing for them? The vocational training that we do for them is great. The question is access to the market.
Executive Director of Child Rights International agrees.
It's a matter of the state to decide that I need to empower young people, give them the requisite knowledge and understanding to pursue things that matter, and then the work that they can do, a decent work that they can do, to ensure that they can also put their children to school.
Ultimately, until another large-scale government intervention occurs or the current government commits to this project, the hope for many Kayaye who view this center as a pathway out of poverty rests on the shoulders of civil society organizations and private entities that have long been dedicated to improving the conditions of these predominantly female headquarters. Safa Boyne, TV3 News, Accra. We will be keeping close tabs on this training center and we'll be bringing you more updates here, so stay tuned. But let's bring you our last story now, where the deplorable state of roads in some communities within the Anyaso-Utium constituency in the Greater Accra region has become a major concern for residents, commuters and local authorities. The poor condition of the roads has led to the increase in travel time, damaged vehicles and difficulty for emergency services to reach affected areas. A report by Erica Juma Crunchy. The constituency, which is located in the Greater Accra region, is plagued by potholed and unmaintained roads, making it difficult for residents to access basic services. Residents lament numerous promises by authorities have yielded no results.
One of our major problems is the road. If we had the road hard, it would have helped us.
I think so.
Some started a business and because the road is not actually good, the road is spot and all that. Some of them have closed their shops, others are in, but they are saying that the sales has gone down.
Obi by so baby, yeah. I'm so yeah to the last level. No, the machines by so they in the
Someone tried fixing the road for us, and when it rained, his work was destroyed. He never came back. The vehicles cannot use the road when it rains, and the water enters our shops.
Because you know, free hand, so I feel the side and
drivers who ply these roads are worried about the damage to their vehicles and the high maintenance.
Ye roads na wo Tantra, Tabora, Alajiha, Enyakra.
Our roads are in a very bad shape. When it rains here, it's very bad. I have my car parked because of that.
Cars no to menko nti enam sa no nti Mekano mapaki.
Yakoino first gave to Lamanava Drasto, a Corninia, free 2007.
Since 2017, the road has been like this. The passengers go to Agenda and Mensado to board vehicles to La Paz.
Agenda, Mensado, now Mafaka La Paz.
Minister for Roads and Highways Gavin Sagboja at his veteran indicated in his first year the ministry will focus on critical road projects that have been abandoned.
The first year, our commitment will be to focus on critical road projects which have been abandoned to make them motorable for the use to which it was originally intended.
The minister says the country must set aside between 6 to 10 billion Ghana cedis to fund roads projects. That'll be all for the morning news right here on TV3. Many thanks for joining us. New Day continues right after this breather. My name is Safwa Bwahini. Do have a lovely day.